Good evening, folks. Thanks for joining us. My name is Mike Gurney. I'm with EGLE's Environmental Support Division. I appreciate you all jumping on for the Kelsey Hayes Contaminant Plume Information Session. I'm going to hand the virtual microphone off to Brandon Alger here in just a second, but I have a couple quick housekeeping things before we get started. So Brandon, if you want to hit the next slide for me, please. So first, we are recording this webinar, so that serves two purposes, right? Well, hopefully we can allow you the opportunity to come back, and if you have, if you want to look at anything, we're going to share the slides with you. Those are going to be posted on EGLE's website, so you can dive into it if you want to review it. We're also going to post it on EGLE's YouTube channel. So if there's somebody in attendance who wasn't able to join here tonight, feel free to share that. We'll try and communicate that as best as possible, but you will know probably better than we will who is here and who's not. So feel free to share that. All lines are muted during this meeting, and they're going to remain muted. So the best way is to use that Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar. That way we can really try and answer as many questions as possible and make sure that we're focused on the information that we're trying to share here tonight. I know we're really excited to share some of this information with you. And so with that, Brandon, I think that's the end of my intro here. So I'll turn it over to you and let you kick things off.
Great. Thanks, Michael. This is our Kelsey Hayes Contaminant Plume Information Session that we're having tonight. As Michael said, I'm Brandon Alger. I'm a senior geologist with EGLE, and I will be co-presenting with Lindsay Bleach, who is our case coordinator with our Compliance and Enforcement Division. So as for introductions, again, I'm Brandon. I have been a geologist with EGLE for 8 years. Prior to that, I worked in consulting world for a few years, and I've been the state project manager overseeing various aspects of the Milford groundwater plume for going on 2 years now. Tonight, we're going to be discussing what we've learned since our last public information session, which was in early of 2022. We're going to be discussing groundwater sample results, which we have obtained from our recently installed monitoring wells in the area of this OW16D2, which we'll talk about some more. We'll be discussing the removal of the clogged monitoring well, OW16D2. And then Lindsay will talk about the replacement of the unilateral administrative order, or the UAO, with an administrative order by consent, which is an AOC, and how the AOC is protective of public health. So if there's one bullet point I want everyone to take away from this meeting tonight, the most important thing is that vinyl chloride has not been detected in the village's drinking water. At no point has it been detected in the village's drinking water. The village of Milford does monitor this drinking water monthly. In early 2022, vinyl chloride was detected in a monitoring well. This monitoring well was OW16D2. It was about 150 feet up gradient or upstream in groundwater speak from the village drinking water wells. In response to this detection, EGLE issued a UAO. Again, that's the Unilateral Administrative Order to ZF Active US Incorporated. I'm going to refer to them as simply ZF going forward. So ZF conducted further investigation under EGLE oversight. This included the installation of vertical aquifer profiles, or VAP wells, and these were near OW16D2, and the installation of 2 additional new monitoring wells, which are OW16D2R1 and OW16D2R2. The investigation concluded that the vinyl chloride originated from degradation within that clogged well, within that OW16D2. This is not something that was present within the surrounding aquifer. So EGLE, in response to this, has replaced the UAO with a voluntary AOC to enforce a monitoring and contingency plan. And this is requirements that are still placed upon ZF, is what this AOC enforces. So we talked a bit about the replacement of these 2 monitoring, or the addition of 2 additional monitoring wells. OW16D2 was initially installed in 1997. And over the years, its communication with the aquifer has become limited, meaning that the groundwater surrounding OW16D2 is not representative of the water that is within OW16D2. It's common for wells to need replacement over time. The monitoring wells OW16D2R1 and R2, which you will see just Just to, it's actually to the east, because on this map, north is to the left. You'll see in the bottom right, we have a scale showing north goes to the left up Mill Creek from Hubble Pond. And if we look where we're oriented here near this playground in the park, just to the west of downtown Milford, this is the community central park. OW16D2 is located here. That's our 25-year-old fouled monitoring well. And these are our two new wells, which were drilled adjacent to it to better represent groundwater conditions in this area. Monitoring wells OW16D2 and R2, R1 and R2 are roughly 10 and 20 feet from that original well. And these wells use a stainless steel construction, and they have not at any point shown vinyl chloride impact in the period that we have been monitoring them. OW16D2, again, is that well which vinyl chloride was detected in late 2021 and early 2022. Those two replacement wells, R1 and R2, were drilled in virtually the same location as we saw on the map preceding this slide. And these were drilled to test if vinyl chloride was a problem within the aquifer or only within that 25-foot well, a 25-year-old well. Through 14 months of sampling, no vinyl chloride has been detected in either replacement well. And this table to the right shows the sample date, and it shows that vinyl chloride has not been detected in R1 in that middle column or in R2 in that far right column. So I'm going to talk a bit about what a groundwater monitoring well is and why we use that to assess the aquifer. Groundwater wells can be thought of a bit like a straw in an opaque cup of an unknown liquid. And the well screen is the base of the straw. At the bottom of our groundwater monitoring well, you'll see this well screen that's called out with the arrow, and it's got some lines through it. To sample what's in a cup or groundwater, you need a functioning well screen. Think of this as the tip of a straw. If you don't have an ability for the fluid to get into the straw, you can't taste it when it comes out the top of the straw. For a well to produce a representative sample, it's sort of the same. That screen must be in good communication with the surrounding aquifer. You need to have that lighter blue groundwater be able to flow freely through the sandpack, through the screen, and out through the sandpack and out through the screen as well. This makes it so this is another portion of the groundwater, just the same as any water that's outside of the screen. This communication can be calculated using known parameters or measurements of the well and measuring the drawdown. And that means how much water that we've pumped out of the well as we're using a low flow sampler. A low flow sampler is a sampling tool that our field geologists will use to take some of the groundwater out and assess it in the field to verify that our field parameters are correct. And those samples are sent to a lab to be analyzed for contaminants. So if we don't have good communication with the groundwater in the well screen, what the water pulled out of the well cannot be relied upon. As if the straw or screen is clogged, that's not representative of natural aquifer conditions. In this OW16D2 well, which is the well that had detections of vinyl chloride in late 2021 and early 2022, we see drawdown ranging from 5 feet to over 14 feet. And this first chart in the upper right shows that drawdown month to month as ZF sampled those. This drawdown and recharge dynamic is not representative of natural aquifer conditions. You should not, in a functioning groundwater monitoring well, see drawdown of this amount in a low flow sample scenario. This indicates that the original well is not in communication with the aquifer, and it does not produce representative samples. In contrast to this, our two replacement wells, the R1 and R2 wells, they have a median drawdown, which is negligible. If you look in the bottom right at this table, you'll see the median drawdown for the numbers above is 7.55 feet. In our two other wells, we see virtually no drawdown. There's 0.01 and 0.12 feet. What this indicates to us is that the replacement wells are in direct communication with the aquifer, and they do produce representative samples. This graph is a graph of the data, the drawdown data collected from all three wells. You'll note that month to month are blue, which is the R1 well, and green, which is the R2 well. They have minimal drawdown in each sample. This indicates again that these are wells representative of aquifer conditions. We can rely upon the data collected from these two wells. The red line is OW16D2, and it shows not only a significant drawdown, but a varying drawdown as well. This is indicative of a well that is not representative of aquifer conditions. The reasoning for that being that the screen is clogged, water is not flowing through the well, and what we take out of it is water which has sat in the well and potentially stagnated for an unknown amount of time. So I'm going to have Lindsay take over, and she's going to drive for a minute and discuss the unilateral administrative order and a couple other compliance and enforcement topics.
Thanks, Brandon. And now I'm going to switch focus to talk a little bit about EGLE's enforcement development. EGLE issued the Unilateral Administrative Order, also known as the UAO or AO, to ZF on March 16, 2022, requiring ZF to abate the imminent and substantial endangerment to public health posed by the proximity of vinyl chloride to the village of Milford's drinking water wells. As mentioned in previous slides, ZF later determined that the detections of vinyl chloride were a result of in-well conditions of monitoring well OW16D2, and that the imminent and substantial endangerment basis for which the UAO was originally issued had changed. EGLE technical staff reviewed and concurred with ZF's determination, and this determination was agreed upon unanimously by an EGLE peer review committee. Following ZF's determination and EGLE concurrence, on September 5th, 2023, EGLE and ZF entered into a voluntary administrative order by consent, or AOC. The AOC enforces a monitoring and contingency plan that requires ZF to obtain and maintain a permit and plans for installation of a treatment system, monitor the replacement wells OW16D2R1 and OW16D2R2 quarterly while providing reports to EGLE, and it requires ZF to install a treatment system on the village of Milford's drinking water wells if vinyl chloride is observed and verified in those replacement monitoring wells above Part 201 residential drinking water criteria. So I've talked a little bit about the UAO and the AOC, and now I'm going to discuss how the UAO and the AOC are different and how they are similar in terms of enforcement. A UAO is an order that is created by one party that is issued to another party, while an AOC is a voluntary, negotiated, and legally enforceable agreement between two parties. The UAO requires the existence of an imminent and substantial endangerment in order to be issued, whereas an AOC does not require the existence of an imminent and substantial endangerment in order to be entered. A UAO may contain civil fines for noncompliance for up to $25,000 per day, and an AOC may contain stipulated penalties for noncompliance that are less than $25,000 per day. For both the UAO and an AOC, in the event of noncompliance, EGLE must file action with the court in order to enforce the UAO or the AOC and or to recover fines or penalties. So with the updated findings on the conditions of monitoring well OW16D2 and the entrance of the AOC between EGLE and ZF, EGLE determined that there is not currently a known imminent and substantial endangerment to the village of Milford's drinking water wells resulting from the former Kelsey Hayes facility vinyl chloride groundwater contamination. Therefore, after entering the AOC, EGLE terminated the UAO on October 4th, 2023.
So I'm going to recap what we just went over the past few minutes. Again, the most important bullet point of this entire session is that vinyl chloride has not been detected in the village of Milford's drinking water. Samples collected from OW16D2 that were collected in prior years and that have been collected more recently have been determined to be non-representative of the aquifer. Samples from our representative replacement wells, both the vertical aquifer profile wells and those replacement monitoring wells R1 and R2, have not shown concentrations of vinyl chloride. And this is true through over 14 months of sampling of those replacement wells. The unilateral administrative order was terminated and replaced with our administrative order of consent. And this assures that the Milford's public water system will continue to be protected. And EGLE is still committed to an ongoing oversight of monitoring of these wells and of all additional remedial investigation and action being taken by ZF. We do have ongoing communication with the residents for when we don't have these regular public information sessions. This includes the Village of Milford's website, which can be found at villageofmilford.org/vinyl chloride. And this link includes another link to our EGLE website, which is also listed on this slide. Some contact information. Again, I'm Brandon Alger. I'm the state project manager. I can be contacted here. Lindsay Bleach, who is also presented this evening. She's our RRD case coordinator. We also have our district engineer, Tiffany Yusko-Kotimko. Her contact information here, and we have been working with the Village of Milford and Christian Worth, the Village of Milford manager, who has set up a drinking water email address for questions related to this topic. And we've also been working with our partners in health, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and we have a toxicologist with their contact information also available. So at this point, we are going to have Mike facilitate questions, and we have a panel that can answer these.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Might be a quick Q&A session. We don't have any quite yet, so I have just a quick couple reminders, and I will keep an eye on the question and answer box. So again, if you have any questions, use that Q&A function in your Zoom toolbar and send those in. I will also say, excuse me. Sorry about that. The conversation obviously doesn't end tonight, right? So that was the intent of the contact information. So if you have some follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. So if you think of a question later, don't hesitate to reach out. But just a couple reminders. I did add EGLE's website for this project, this site, into the chat. So you should be able to click on that link and go in and view any updates as they happen on that website. Then you can also go to that michigan.gov EGLE Outreach Connect link that I sent in. And there's a space there to not only get to all of our social media, including the YouTube channel where we'll post this recording, but you can sign up for, there's an email subscription list for this site. So I know that's how we communicated this meeting. And if there's any updates in the future, we like to use that, as well as sharing it on the website and obviously communicating to the village to help get that message out. So I think with that, I tried to vamp for a little bit and haven't seen any questions come in. So just one more time reminder, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to the team here. I would also, I'm going to provide a list to Brandon with the folks that registered for the event. So if they even weren't able to attend, we'll be able to send the slides out that were shared today, or keep an eye out on the website, and we'll post them on the website. So thank you. I really, really appreciate you all coming out and having this conversation with us here this evening. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks, everybody. Take care.